what would be your beginning of the year message to educators as they're preparing for the school year? We'll be back in a couple of weeks. What is your message to teachers?
All teachers.
All teachers.
That you're engaged in the most sacred occupation, profession, calling that there is. When you have the audacity to tamper with the minds of the young, to influence their sense of who they are, how they got to be who they are, what they can make out of who they are, and what the future holds in their hand that they can control and make not just a difference, but a positive difference.
A lot of times you're faced with the choice of either being the change agent, aligning yourself with the community and really educating our children, or making alliances and networking your way up through the system at the expense of our children. So what is your message to those principals who sit in that valley of indecision?
I would ask them, well, first place, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of losing your job? Unless somebody can give you a U rating because it's pedagogically unsound, you probably won't lose your job. But on the other hand, you're losing your soul. And that's infinitely more important. So if you're really that afraid, I would say it's not for you. It's not something that everybody can do. And if you're that afraid, or if you're afraid of people not speaking to you, it's not the job for you. You'll have to be able to go in there. That's one of the reasons I think there's value in staying a while. I stayed at 21 more than 20 years. It takes a while. It takes a while to build the relationships so that a part of what you want taught, you don't have to say it. Your parents will say it.
With that being said, because we're talking a lot about systems thinking, and we have a new chancellor in the New York City Department of Education, who has come on and is already he appears to be focused on issues of equity. So recently he has been raising the issue of specialized high schools, and it's caused some controversy in the sense that he's saying that he wants to do away with the test and find other ways in which to evaluate whether, how a student gets into a specialized high school. When I did my research, I found out that while Black and Latinos make up over 70% of the students in New York City Department of Education, they are less than 10% of the students that are in these specialized high schools. So this is what the chancellor has been talking about. So he's coming in, he's talking about culturally relevant education, and at some point I want to get your take on these terms: restorative justice, equity in education. What is your advice to the chancellor as he begins to serve his first year as chancellor of the New York City Department of Education?
To define equity. And that definition should come from the people who have not been treated with equity. I wouldn't ask a European to define equity because they don't know enough about inequity. You got to suffer the pain to know what it's like. So define equity. It's one thing to say they're not in the specialized high schools. That's easier than looking at the elementary and secondary schools that prepare the children. That's much more difficult, but that's what's basic. It's not just getting them into a specialized high school as though a specialized high school is something extraordinary for every Black child to try to get into. The Asians are raising some concern about that.
Yes, they are.
But the issue is, what does equity look like in education?
What is your message to our young children of African ancestry? What do you want to say to the children?
I want to tell them how precious they are, that they are beloved, extraordinary, gifted, creative, and that they are the sons and daughters of Jesus, of the first people. We are the parent people. You are one of the parent people. But people from all over came to learn, came to grin, and stole and cheated and lied. But they didn't take away your genius. The genius that was in the brain is still there. And we need to be thoughtful about what brought us from the pyramid to the projects.